we've got to talk about her tax debt because it is scary, the amount of money that she owes, to the IRS. At first, I would say, okay, listen, she's on a super wildly successful show, making a lot of money. She'll be able to pay this off in no time. But the thing is, she's no longer on a wildly successful show. The ratings for that show have dropped. They have plummeted. They went from getting over 1 million, almost 2 million viewers per year, to now being lucky to get 200,000 viewers or 250,000 viewers. So obviously the money is not what it used to be. And so shout out to the US Sun for pulling up all the information on this, but we're finding out that Leah was hit with a state tax lien for $33,000 on September 16th of last year, and a federal tax lien for $33,000 on July 30th of the same year. And then the court clerk also says that Leah's previous liens still are open and unpaid. And those previous liens are February 26th, state tax lien for $31,000, federal tax lien for $164,000. Leah still owes tax debts from 2023, including a state tax lien for $31,000 and a federal tax lien for $290,000. It's a lot, you guys. Like, they have been adding up from as far back as 2019. And so in total, when you add up all of these debts, she is at a whopping $715,437,000 in unpaid taxes. And it breaks my heart for her, right? Because I don't know how she's going to be able to find her way out of that. She is currently living in a home that she bought with her own money. However, she had her then boyfriend, Jalen, purchase it exclusively under his name because of her tax issues. She wouldn't have been able to qualify for a mortgage. But the problem is that now Jalen is using it as collateral. He is only allowing her to live in her own home under the pretense that she does not speak about what she caught him in. And word on the street is he's not attracted to women, and she knows that, and he doesn't want her to talk about that. And that secret is the exchange that she gets to live in her own damn house that she bought and paid for. And I feel bad for her because she already had a perfectly good house. There was no reason for her to go and try to uproot these kids, move somewhere else, all in the name of a new random boyfriend that she still barely knew. Leah is always moving far too quickly with men, and it is always blowing up in her face, and and again, if she had kept this house in her own name, or the other house in her own name, she would have been able to sell it and then use some of those proceeds to go ahead and pay off some of the tax debt, but she can't because it's not in her name. And I don't understand it. I feel like if she were to really dedicate herself to doing a lot of promotional things, I don't know if it's speaking about standing in your power or something like that, if she were to work with brands in order to launch some sort of white label product, I think that there are ways for Leah to make money. She talked about launching a podcast. Kale, she's got 3 podcasts, and she says that she's making more on the podcast that she was making on the show. So if Leah were to do these podcasts successfully and still be on the show, she would have the money to go ahead and pay. But for some reason, I don't know if it's poor money management or these businesses or ventures just not working out. I don't know. It's all a mess. It really, really is. Alex, we were talking about Leah Messer from Teen Mom 2 owing nearly $1 million in back taxes dating back to 2019. Orla says that her daughter looks like Leah used to when she first started the show. It's crazy. I actually think her curly-haired daughter resembles her the most, actually. She's got the exact same, lower half, too. The nose, the dimples, the jawline, everything, but they both do look exactly like her. I think the one who looks not too much like her is Addie. Addie looks exactly like her father, Jeremy, especially in the eyes. So Leah did not comment on the Sun's article that was published yesterday about her current tax debt, but she did last year talk about it, saying, and I quote, "I've worked with many different accountants over the years. At first, I was filing and paying more than I was making, and then I was paying people that had me stall while they, quote, handled the tax situation." So basically, she's saying it is not her fault, okay? So what do you think? Do you believe her, or do you think that this is just her kind of passing the buck about her issues? To be fair to Leah, I will say that we have heard quite a few stories of accountants and financial advisors stealing from their clients. Most notably, there was Rihanna in the case that inspired her song "Be Better Have My Money." And what happened essentially was that her accountants took her money, and you would think she was a millionaire, right? She was at the peak of her career at this point, or one of the early peaks of her career, and she didn't have much money in the bank because they were stealing from her allegedly and not paying her taxes properly. And so she was in an awful lot of debt. So could this have been something that happened to Leah Messer as well? Or could it just be that she was rather ignorant about how taxes work? I don't know. Here's my question. How are you even able to pay more than you were earning? Where would the money come from then, right? I don't know. I hope I'm not ever that cucumber blinded. Lord help me. Exactly. One thing about Leo, she is always, always, always going to uproot everything in her life for a man. She reminds me of Janelle in that respect. Pam says, I don't feel bad for her. She's been making terrible decisions since a teen. Yeah, it's really sad. It's really, really, really sad. And yes, she's got twins, and it was the black guy. Remember Jalen? He used to have her doing photo shoots all the damn time, and he was wearing clothes from like the plus size ladies collections. Like he was literally wearing women's clothes. It was a very, very interesting time in the teen mom world. And then shortly after that, she joined some sort of a cult and then fell out with Kale. They used to be really close. I think they used to also kind of like queer bait together. And then they fell out because of her cult. And Kale talked about that a little bit in her podcast as well. It was a mess. Boss says, nah, I can't feel bad for her. She's the one who jumps and moves in too soon with basically a stranger. Exactly. Honestly, like that was the thing about Leah. Like there was no reason for this. And why would you put this in the name of your, but here's the thing. This is what happens when you try and commit fraud, right? Because this basically at the core of it was a fraud. She knew that she couldn't get this house. She couldn't qualify for the mortgage because of her tax issues. And instead of taking the money, because she put down a lot of money for him to be able to get this house, because although he made a decent salary, it wasn't to where he needed it to be to qualify for this house. So they needed a huge down payment, a huge lump sum. And that lump sum should have been towards the taxes. So this is why I'm like, okay, maybe like when she was younger or something, her financial advisor screwed her. But as an adult, she had all of this money that she could have put towards the taxes. She already had a home, and it was a home that was specifically finally adapted to her handicapped daughter. And instead of just paying the damn taxes, she gives it to a random man to buy a home that is not adapted to her daughter anyway. Like the whole thing is just so stupid. So that's why I don't feel too bad for her in regards to what it is that she's got going on right now, because it was her own foolishness that got her here. I think she would have been able to pay off, at least $100,000 worth of those taxes by now.